Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Leader Class Double Dealer from Transformers Earthrise War for Cybertron Trilogy. I'm very excited to get Double Dealer. One, I never had the original toy as a kid, and two, he is another Master Force character being a Power Master, so I'm very excited to kind of add to the Master Force ranks. As you guys probably know, it is on my favorite Transformers fiction of all time, so very excited to get my hands on Double Dealer. Very cool artwork here on the side of the packaging. They continue to crush it with these, and I always think they look very impressive. Over on this side, you have that kind of standard Earthrise picture that we always have on the side, that bit of artwork. Nothing really going on the bottom or the top. If we turn around to the back, you can see that there's a robot mode, a hawk, falcon, bird mode, and then the vehicle mode. And then there's this base mode, which we'll get into it more later, but at a first glance, it really just looks like you turned the vehicle mode around and pulled a ramp down with some stabilizers. So, not really much of a base mode, but these three modes are more than enough for me, so I'm perfectly happy with that. But we'll see how it goes. Yeah, let's go ahead, let's get him out of the box, and we'll take a closer look. Alright, so here he is out of the packaging. He's definitely a stocky little dude, and I love it. It's just weird to me. He seems like he has kind of tinier legs. Like, it's probably, honestly, the waist is probably, the same down from it as his top, same size proportions and everything. But maybe because, like, his shoulders are so broad. But he definitely seems like a stocky little dude. It doesn't feel like a leader class figure, shockingly enough to me. I feel like the leader classes are usually taller. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking too much. Anyway, he looks good. He does. He's got a lot of great paint applications. Everything here on the legs, in the chest area, it's all paint. Looks fantastic. Really, really happy with it. The Condor wings on the back, they're not great because there's like not a great way. You can kind of open these up and have the wing tips just straight down, and that makes it lay a little bit more flat, which I like. But then they get in the way of like the waist articulation. I mean, honestly, not a ton. You can still move the waist pretty good, but if you really don't want any kind of encumbered articulation, you can fold them up. They don't really lie flat that well. But they do have this thing here trying to keep them in line, so I appreciate that. But you can see now he has absolutely no problem with waist movement, so that's nice. Head sculpt, I think, looks pretty good. They did kind of downplay his like giant Mickey Mouse ears that the original toy used to have, and I get it. But I don't know, there was kind of a goofy charm to them that I loved, so I'm kind of sad they're gone. But overall, I do really like the head sculpt. I feel like it's good because for a Transformer that's supposed to be both an Autobot and a Decepticon, it's kind of a neutral head sculpt. Like, you could see it be an Autobot, but it's also got just a little bit of a sinister look to it that it could be a Decepticon. So one thing they did add in the original toy did not have, you have these panels that you can flip around. So you can see the Autobot symbol here, obviously, and then this little panel's on a hinge, and that flips around, and now he's a Decepticon. Now, in the original toy, the robot mode was only for Autobot. The Condor mode was for Decepticon. So he didn't really have a Decepticon robot mode. So if you always wanted him to have a Decepticon robot mode, here you go. They put those little panels in as an option. So now you can say he's got a Decepticon robot mode. But to me, it's not really much of a double agent. If, he just like puts on a different arm patch and suddenly he's a Decepticon. He's not really fooling me. It's not really a disguise. Like, at least when he had two different modes, you could say, well, this Condor looks familiar. Same color scheme as a guy I know, but it's a little different. But anyway, they gave you an option. It's neat. I appreciate it. Head is on a rotation. I guess it is a ball joint. It does have a little bit of back and forth, but mostly side to side. There's not a ton of up and down. Shoulder has a spin out to the side. Shoulder, you have a bicep swivel. You have a double jointed elbow because of the transformation. The wrist can rotate, but be careful because when you go to spin it into the forearm, you need to make sure that it is lined up completely or else it will not go. You have that waist articulation I talked about earlier. Hips, front and back, out to the side. You have a thigh swivel. You also have a swivel inside the leg, as well as a knee bend. And then, of course, the ankle tilt. So, pretty good articulation, all things considered. He really looks good. The other thing that's kind of neat, if you bought the Spy Master pack, you've got his two Power Master bodies, I guess. Power Master partners. if you're in the U.S., they're partners. If you're thinking by the Japanese fiction, this is actually the character, and the Transtector is just like a suit of armor. But if we go ahead and we transform this real quick into his quote-unquote Power Master form, because really these are just the cassettes for Soundwave that they remade and repurposed as Power Masters. But honestly, I think it kind of works. I mean, it's not bad. But you can open this, and you can fit him inside here, and then close it up, and then there you go. Now he's got his Power Master partner, and that's how he transforms. Now, honestly, he would be in the vehicle mode, the Power Master would attach, and then it would transform into the robot mode, but use your imagination. The other thing that's kind of neat, if you see this little piece in his abdomen here, and it's probably going to be pretty difficult to get this out of here. Yeah, we'll do it this way. So you can pull this out, and then, oh, I just realized this is probably going to be a nightmare to get out of here. No, okay, sweet. It was actually pretty easy. And also a little sneak peek at the Condor head inside the chest. But if we close that up, and now I have to transform him yet again. But luckily it's pretty quick. So pop the hands out. There we go. Turn that around. You can pop this down on the back and peg this in to the back. Now it's not perfect. It should be a little bit higher up. But his original Power Master partner for the Autobot side did have an engine piece like this on its back. So that's kind of neat. They're kind of giving you, like, this is where the Power Master would have normally attached in the original toy. So they're kind of paying homage to that by giving you this piece. Do I have it upside down? I don't think I do. No, because that would make it even worse. So yeah, I'm going to say it goes like that. So you can take that off, put it on the back of that to kind of simulate his Power Master partner. And then obviously when he transforms, he's completely hidden in the chest. But you could take this off and put this back on, and then it almost looks like this is the Power Master inserted where it would normally go in the original toy. So I think that's kind of cool. It's like a nice compromise, because obviously they're not going to be able to fit the full Power Master partner of this cassette here, but you can kind of simulate it. Like, you can actually put him in here, but also simulate it here, so it's kind of like a twofer, if that makes sense. Which I think is cool. I like that. It's a really neat build of functionality there that they didn't have to do. But it lets you actually have the play pattern, but then also simulate the look of the original toy. So it's kind of perfect there. He also comes with a ton of accessories. Obviously, he has his giant rocket / gun. So if you remember the original toy at all, this breaks apart into two pieces. The gun, and then this is just kind of like a cone that he can put on his shoulder, similar to like Soundwave or something like that. But this is much longer than I remember. The original toy, I think, came to about here. It was just kind of like a stub of a gun. So they did a nice job expanding that. Nice detailing. Very, very reminiscent of the original toy. So just peg that in, and then this can pop into his shoulder right here. So there you go. That's kind of his official robot mode look. Now, he's also got some other accessories. I'm not quite sure what this is, but they want you to peg it here onto his shoulder. And then there's also a smaller gun, which if you want, he could hold in his hand. Otherwise, they want you to put this in his shoulder up here. He's also got two little missile pods, which are supposed to peg into his legs down here and here. So he is really armed to the nines with all kinds of accessories and weaponry there. Now you're supposed to take this piece and bend this in half, and then I think put these out like this, and then this piece is supposed to lift up, and then this pegs in underneath here like that, and then he can have some wings on his back if you want to do that as well. I personally don't need all this stuff. I think it makes him look a little too cluttered, in my opinion. I like the gun, and I like the shoulder rocket. Other than that, it's nice that it's included. I don't personally need it, but I think it's neat. So if you really want to deck him out He's ready for battle. He's ready to go. So yeah, let's see. That's accessories, articulation. I think we've hit all the notes. Let's go ahead and first we'll do the Condor Well, yeah, we'll do the Condor transformation first. All right, so theoretically, if you were following like the show or the fiction, he would start out in the vehicle mode and then transform to the Condor mode with this little guy. So if he was power mastering up, you would have this transform into the Power Master component, and then it would go into the chest and then close back up. Is it not going to stay? There it goes. Okay. So then we'll get into the Condor mode. So first thing you can do, go ahead, like I said, make sure those wrists are lined up, and then you can fold them into the forearms. You can bring the whole arm piece forward like so. There's a hinge right there, so bring that up. Now this is where it gets a little goofy. There is a tab right here, and then there is a tab slot right there on the back of the arm. So you just kind of have to situate this and play with it a little bit until you can line it up, and then that will peg in there like so. And like I said, you have that kind of double jointed hand to play with, so you can move it around until you get that lined up. Sorry, I realize you're not seeing this. Anyway, so those are pegged in there like that, and then that just kind of sits there. Now this is going to flip down, and you're going to see that there's a tiny little condor foot, so that's going to flip down and play a role in a minute, but just kind of leave them out like so. Now, this next part is kind of a pain in the butt. I'm going to be 100% honest. You're going to flip these down. You're going to rotate these around. This way? Yeah, this way. No. This way. So, what you need to do when you pull these down, and let me try to explain this correctly. So these have these kind of like double joints in the knee, and so this part needs to come around and peg into that, but then this will just slide up like so. So you kind of have to get this it's kind of a pain in the butt. So, and it's all these clearance issues and things, but so if you can see how I've swiveled that around, and that has to peg all the way in and go all the way in, and then you have to rotate this up, and then you can see that there's two tab slots here. This tab here has to peg into the bottom one, all while trying to maneuver with this arm in the way. So this comes up, and then there's all this clearance issues, so you can get this in here, and then peg it in. Come on, peg it in. Just make sure everything's lined up, and anyway, you get this pegged in. There you go. And then we're going to do the exact same thing with this leg. Okay, so honestly, that's the hardest part of the Condor transformation, is just getting these all the way up, and I think they're all the way in, but that has to get pegged in there, and then you get everything pegged into the side, and then you're good to go. So now we're going to unpeg this. We're going to have to lift up this little section. This is going to come down like so, and then this kind of does this weird little hingy thing, and it just kind of comes up and clicks into place there. So hopefully he'll stay in there like he's supposed to, but we'll see how that goes. So at this point, you can... It was 2 seconds after I said that. Whatever, he can sit off to the side. This can come down. Is this not pegged in? What's happening here? Oh, this has to be like this. There we go. There we go. Okay, so there is your Condor feet. We're going to flip this around. Put that underneath like so. We're going to flip out the wings, and of course you can open these up all the way now. Like that. This is going to open up like that, and then we're going, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. This is a little bit premature on my part. This has to spin around, which is also why I can't do the arms yet. Okay, so put the arms back out, then spin the head around. I knew something was up because I'm like, this comes down, and you can see how there's kind of like a little channel here on the side, right where my thumb is. That's going to kind of sit in there. It doesn't peg in or anything. It just kind of sits in there. But it sits snugly, and it's kind of nice. It keeps it in place. Then you can turn the head, and that kind of pops out a little bit. And then you can open the mouth. And then you can put the legs back down once that's all done. And then close this up. So you're pretty much done. Can take the gun, put that back together, take this will peg in here like so, and then you can see these clips here. That's going to clip in on the sides right here, so that just pops on there like that, just kind of sits there, and then you just kind of bring these down. Now, I wish these pegged in. It would have been really nice if there was just like a tiny little peg here or something to just kind of peg that on a little bit more snug. Not a huge problem, but it would have been just nice to be a little bit more secure, because otherwise this thing just kind of flops around a little bit. But there you go. And again, there's really nothing to keep this in, so just kind of pretend it's in there, unfortunately. But there is the Condor mode. So there's not really a ton for articulation in this mode. I guess really you can move the Condor foot. Again, these kind of flop around a little bit. I really wish they pegged in. Otherwise, this just kind of sits on his back. You can move the head around a little bit. There's a hinge there. Of course, you can do side to side. You can open the mouth. I think the Condor head looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. The wings are okay. The wings you can move. You know, they have the hinges here, so you can have, pretend it's flapping. You can have it go in and out. This hinge still exists, so you can do something with that. Obviously, they're not 100% level because of how they fold into the body. They had to stagger it a little bit, so it looks a little goofy, but for the most part, it's pretty cool. Now, you can go ahead and attach these extra pieces underneath. They want you to just kind of put these in the hands. So if you want to peg these in underneath here, you can do that. If you want to store them somewhere, you can see that they just peg into the robot hands underneath. And then these pieces here, the little like missile pods, peg in on the sides here, like so. So again, I personally think it looks a little too cluttered. Maybe the missile pods on the side aren't bad, but I don't need this stuff hanging out in the hands of the robot. I like the missile on the back because that was what the original toy and the cartoon had that as well. So yeah, there is your Condor mode. Alright, I've transformed them back into robot mode to go into the vehicle mode because that's just how the directions do it, so I thought it would be easier. The other thing the directions showed off that I don't know if I did, they had you flip the panels around to being a Decepticon before you transformed them. I don't really think it makes any kind of difference into the Condor mode, I mean. So they just had, the first step was they had them flip these out and then transform them into the Condor. I don't think it makes any difference as far as the transformation goes, but they wanted to just stress that the Condor mode is the Decepticon mode. But anyway, we will go ahead, flip the hands into the forearms again. Now we're going to have to flip this around, but it is much, much easier this time because we don't have to kind of do the double flip. So we just flip it around one time, like so. And then you're going to peg the same tab that you pegged into the waist before is now just going to peg into the side of the hip. Now, strangely enough, this can be a little bit harder than you would think, but it's not too bad. Again, much easier, in my opinion, than pegging it in for the Condor mode. And then we peg these together. Okay, and there you go. So next we're going to take this, we're going to spin it around, bring it down, and then there are 2 tab spots right here on the legs that this is going to peg into. So there you go. Very simple. At this point, I like to open these up and put these wings down just so it lies a little bit more flat, because it's going to be the base of the vehicle mode so that we don't run into any problems. You're going to bring up the arms, not the complete arm joint, just this like halfway point arm joint, and you're going to spin these around, and then there's a tab here, and that's going to peg into this tab here right above the wrist, or tab slap above the wrist. That's what those double jointed elbows are for. So let's get that done. There we go. And then this is just going to come up and sit like that. This is going to come over the head and just kind of hang out here like this. So spin this around, bring this up, tab that in, and then again, not the whole joint, just the half joint. And there you go. That's pretty much it. That's the vehicle mode. At this point, we're going to take this and peg this in back here. And then this comes up, and then that way that'll just sit down like that. And there is the bulk of the vehicle mode. I think it looks pretty good. It's simplistic, but I think it works. Definitely very indicative of the original G1 toy, so I like that. You can move the missile up and around, so if you want it to fire, I think that's pretty cool. Of course, you have all these other accessory pieces, so you can peg this into the hand again. This piece they want you to peg in there. They want you to do the missile pods on the side again. I mean, you can put them wherever you want. Here, here, wherever. And then they want you to take this piece and... let's see, how did this go? This flips up like this. And then they just want you to peg these 2 tabs down here. And then just fold these up. Again, it would have been nice. You have these connection ports right here. You have a tab right here. If you could have had this come up and peg in there for a little bit more stability. But you can't do it. It just won't quite reach. But that would have been nice. Again, I just like it when things really peg together and shore up, and, you know, it's not that this is loose in any means, but it's just, you know, there's an opportunity to really peg that on, and they didn't do it. So, real quick, we'll do the base mode, because it takes 4 seconds from the vehicle mode. It's exactly what I thought it was. You take the stabilizers and put them down. You pop down the ramp, and then you lift up the rocket. Base mode. So yeah, again, it's not necessary. You already have 3 modes and they're perfectly good. I don't need a base mode. This almost just feels like a joke. I would rather they just don't even include it. Like, this can connect. It's got the connection points that you can put a ramp here and, you know, have it connect to any of the other bases or things like that. I don't know. Like Skylinks, that was a decent base mode. Like, that actually transformed. This is literally put down a ramp and move the missile up. I guess I respect the effort, but I also feel like not much effort was put into it, so I don't know how much I respect the effort. But the vehicle mode is perfectly good. So at the end of the day, I like DoubleDealer. I think he's fun. He's not perfect. The joints in the leg are a little loose on mine. Hopefully it's just a QC issue for me, and it's not a problem across the wave. Hopefully there are DoubleDealers out there that are a little bit more secure, but it doesn't really have that big of an issue. Like, he holds poses, as you can see, standing no problem. So so I don't really think it's that major of an issue. I wouldn't let it deter you from picking this guy up. I mean, he's got a great robot mode, great vehicle mode. Condor mode's a lot of fun. The transformation is a little difficult, but it's really just because there's kind of clearance issues, and making those legs really tuck up into the abdomen to get to that Condor mode is a little bit tricky, but I feel like the more times you do it, it'll probably get a little bit easier. So yeah, I mean, there's not too much to complain about this guy. He's fun. He's definitely an excellent homage to the original toy. Very faithful. I mean, if you think about the fact that the last time we got a Double Dealer was just a repaint of Generations Blitzwing, and that was not really faithful to the original toy at all. I love that they put in the Power Master gimmick. They took the already existing cassette gimmick, but they kind of made it work. They gave him the ability to store the Power Masters in his chest, but also gave us this little situation going on in the abdomen where you can take this piece off to add to the partner to give him a little bit more of a Power Master look and not so much of a cassette, which I appreciate. But also you can then plug him in here, but put this piece here to kind of simulate that the Power Master is connected where it was in the original toy. So that's kind of fun. It's like they added in the functionality and the aesthetic. They knew they couldn't make them one and the same, but they gave you both, and it works. They also gave you those little Decepticon flaps, so if you always wanted this guy to have a Decepticon robot mode, you can now. In the original toy, the robot mode was just for Autobot. You also have all these extra little bits that I don't personally need, but hey, they're here, so if you like them, great. You can do that base mode. I'm not going to rag on the base mode too much, but it's superfluous in my mind. It doesn't need to be there, but if you love it, great, it's there. It's just an extra thing. If you don't really care for it, just ignore it. That's probably what I'll do. But yeah, everything about this guy is pretty fun. So if you're a huge Master Force fan like me, he's definitely going to be a must-have. If you're just looking for a fun bot to tinker with, I think he's worth your time. 3 good modes, excellent paint, excellent articulation, and the Power Master gimmick, just 100% wins it for me. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.